Ah, we're back. And I see home lab ideas. All right, I'm muting. Audio check. Anyone? Bueller?
A little bit, little weak, but we can hear you.
All right.
All right. Home lab ideas. All right, are we good? Okay. Chat. So home labs, setting servers up and doing stuff at home, fun. Made a meme. I'm gonna make you guys see it. So this is not a personal anecdote, but I've definitely seen some people who go out and buy a server for $200-300, buy a bunch of hard drives for maybe I don't know $1,000, depending on what kind of hard drives you're getting and how many, and then they sit there and they look at their nice pretty server and they're like, I have no idea what to do with this. And just I've looked, I haven't found anybody who's actually sat down and tried to compile a big list of here's a bunch of random ideas for what you can do. So that's where this comes in. So this is kind of how I conceptualize different kinds of labs. You might be doing this for certification. You might want to just have some kind of infrastructure at home. You might want to just be learning random services. You might be interested in learning more about security from a red team and a blue team perspective, and also just seeing what happens when you do weird things like delete the kernel while the system is running, normal stuff. So some quick notes. This is a collaborative presentation. Please interrupt me. I can't actually see the chat, but hopefully one of the other two guys with me will yell if somebody comes up with an idea that I missed. My goal is to try to get as many ideas as I can, and then I'll post these in Discord and try to share, create a collaborative resource, so to speak, of lab ideas. So again, interrupt me, and hopefully one of the other two guys here will say something if there's a chat. Some quick notes: don't go crazy. Don't buy more than you need. I've definitely seen people talk about buying like 4U servers and then having no idea what to do with them, or some high-end equipment and just not knowing what to do with it. There's also a guy, if you look on YouTube, who's bought a mainframe and then just set it up in his basement. And it's really an interesting video because he kind of talks about like what are mainframes, but also don't buy a mainframe if you don't need to. You can go to reddit.com, the home lab subreddit, for recommendations on hardware, because older servers, a lot more power consumption, likely that you're going to run into issues with drivers. The server that I bought, I had to buy a new RAID card because CentOS 8 or CentOS 7, the RAID drivers don't work. So where can you get them? eBay, Craigslist, publicsurplus.com. A lot of the time on public surplus, it's going to be either extremely old and not really worth anything, or it's going to be on a pallet of 50. But if you look, and if you're willing to buy a lot of stuff, public surplus is another one. E-waste places sometimes, a lot of the time you'll find like workstations and monitors, peripherals, that kind of thing. But I've definitely seen switches and routers, and I've seen servers and network appliances, the whole 9 yards. So first of all, certifications. For the most part, there's really only the RHCSA and RHCE from Red Hat. Both of those, you can just use space on the laptop and you'll be fine. If you really want a separate machine, an Optiplex is fine. You don't need to buy a server. You probably could and you should, but you don't need to if this is like your entire thing. Same thing with the two from the Linux Foundations. There's a bunch of also rans like the Linux Plus, and then I know there's a bunch of like higher level ones from Red Hat that I don't know anything about, so I don't know what they would need. So next is home infrastructure. My goal is to have something set up and running that will meet partner approval levels. We know what partner approval level is, right? It's going to have uptime that your partner will approve of because it's hosting the file server with all of the family pictures. And here's kind of a bunch of random ideas. For the most part with this, again, kind of the way I'm conceptualizing it, is that this is something you want to have set up and running and then never have to think about again. You don't really want to be experimenting with your firewall for the most part. And I know I had some more. But yeah, does anybody have any ideas on this? Because otherwise this is gonna be a real fast presentation. Yep.
I mean, the microphone is carrying both of us. If you just scoot closer, you can say something. Okay. Where's the mic? All right. Oh. Okay, so let's see.
I actually
Okay,
use.
I recommend a wiki. I
do have that. I like DocuWiki. It works with Active Directory and it's free. It's in Debian's default repository. It's great.
Many people use some kind of, they turn your home lab or part of your home lab into some kind of an entertainment system. They might use Plex, they might use LibreElec or Jellyfin. I have not done these, so, but you know, that's on my list. As far as, you know, the other side of security cameras and dashboards and things are things like Home Assistant, which is, I've actually brought Home Assistant up and looked at all the things that it found on my network, which was very interesting. I mean, who knew that Home Assistant could take care of my Blu-ray player or my TV? You know, from down in the basement, I can change channels.
Sounds like a good way to screw with the wife.
So what I've learned there is I need to learn more about how to set the configuration up for that.
Where do I see the chat?
Go to the top.
Give you directions here.
There should be a queue at the top. Bruce was saying something. He wasn't typing in the chat. Oh, okay. I'm gonna click here on your code.
Oh, misunderstood what you meant. Yeah. More.
What I was saying was that I used mine
Okay, there we
to,
go.
since I didn't have a bunch of machines, physical machines.
Yeah,
use my
cross electronic. I've
server.
been there. They have good stuff sometimes.
Let me double check. Oh, +1 for Proxmox.
Yeah.
Bruce, say something, please.
XCPNG version 8.2.1 long-term release is out. Can you hear me? Hello, hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't think the presenter can.
I think the presenters are working it out.
Heard you, Bruce.
That cue is where the chat is on your screen, John.
Okay,
It's a big black square on the share.
yeah. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. There we go. Yep. Learning, this is more spinning stuff up just to see what happens, setting up web servers to experiment with backend configuration, that kind of thing.
I believe
I do
Bruce
have a
was
couple
explaining
ideas
some
for like some kind of
idea.
specific things you can do. There's Linux from scratch. If you don't know what that is, it basically walks you through, from my understanding, because I haven't actually done it, compiling the kernel and then compiling everything else to actually have a running system. And there's a bunch of attachments to it. So there's Beyond Linux from scratch, which adds like adding a GUI, and there's a whole bunch of those kinds of projects, which is very good for getting an understanding of Linux down in the nuts and bolts of things, I guess. The Conrad list is something that's gets circulated on Reddit a lot. It's been around for a while. You would need to do some updating, but it's this guy, he says that he's, I think, a senior Linux admin, and it's a list of like 20 or 30 things. And it takes you from installing a VM manager down to basically everything, and everything that you would, he says, you would run into in an enterprise environment. I don't know why I can't talk right now, but it's stuff like Java applets and everything. It's a big list. The Linux Upskill Challenge is they have you doing it in AWS, but it's a month-long project of today we're doing this kind of thing. It's another Reddit thing, of course. You can also experiment with some of the other Unix-like operating systems, BSDs and Open Solaris. Redux is a Unix-like operating system that somebody's making in Rust. Plan 9, I think you can still find installers for. I'm not 100% clear on that. And then I don't see anything in chat. Anybody have any ideas before I move on?
Is anybody actually putting BSD or OpenBSD or any of those?
Bruce says, I was just saying that I used my XCP-ng server to create several virtual machines so I could play with Kubernetes. I was able to scale out Nginx to over 400, or Nginx IO over 400 instances.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so security, this is getting outside of my wheelhouse. But this is for experimenting, learning more about security, setting up and exploiting and learning how to remediate the OWASP top 10 seems like a pretty good place to start. You can get malware samples from different places, install them on machines, learn what it takes to deploy them, learn what the symptoms are, learn how to remediate them. Some of the things I've seen are pretty crazy. In terms of like what is required to prevent an infection. You can also try setting up a botnet and DDoSing a machine you've got. I've seen people doing that with full-on servers and just seeing how many Raspberry Pis it takes to take down a server. You can also find information on exploits and vulnerabilities and trying to exploit them either against a server or against some service that it's hosting. Just in general, pen testing yourself, setting up firewalls and seeing if you can get past them. Kind of like doing a capture, or you can do like a capture the flag with some friends, depending on who you're friends with. Metasploit is another really big thing. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can experiment with, and a lot of things you can do. I think there's some project, I can't find it for some reason, but I've seen somebody that put out a big blog post of like walking you through like all of the major components of Metasploit. So once upon a time, to explain the line, I have a Metasploitable. Once upon a time, there was a distribution called Damn Vulnerable Linux, and it was designed to be the most vulnerable version of Linux you can get. It was back in the days of Linux 2. something, and it used a bunch of outdated software. It had a bunch of ports open that shouldn't be open, and the goal of Damn Vulnerable Linux was to go through and fix as much of the problems as you can find. And again, it was from the days of Linux 2. something. It's not really around. You can find the ISO for it on any torrent site, but you can't. It's still 2. something. It's not anything recent. But there's Metasploitable, which I haven't looked at it too much, but it looks like it's essentially the same idea of it's giving you or turning a machine into an extremely vulnerable thing. So you have to go through and learn to look for what all the problems are and fix them. And you can see how that goes from both sides, needing to remediate the problems, but also learning how to exploit some of these vulnerabilities. Where was chat? Oh yeah, Pi-hole. To go back in my presentation. Don't know how to go back, that's fine. The pfSense, which I recommended as a firewall, you can also use as a router. It also has a thing for ad blocking. I'm not familiar with security ID, but yeah, OpenSCAP and STIG.
It's kind of tedious.
I believe it.
They'll learn what the defense department doesn't like.
So this is the last section, and I've got a lot of like random ideas, but I've not done any of them, so I don't know how reasonable any of them are. First of all, I would generally consider IoT to be mad scientist lab stuff, just because I've never seen anybody who say that, yeah, I got my IoT up and running and I've had no problems with it. It seems like it is constant experimentation, so mad scientist lab. Chaos Monkey, if you're not familiar with it, Netflix came up with this. It's more of a thing for AWS, but I'm sure you can adapt the basic concept to on-prem infrastructure or even just one machine. But the idea is that it goes through and it turns off individual machines just to make sure that you have failover set up correctly. And they've got a whole suite of tools, and they will do things like disable regions in AWS and disable this, that, and the other thing. And the idea is to make sure that one, you've got failover set up correctly and the other remediation strategies, but also that if stuff does go wrong, you have to fix it and you have to find out how to prevent it from being a problem in the future. So the idea of it seems to fit in. The shell script is a Russian roulette, essentially. If you run it, you've got a 1 in 6 chance of wiping your system. So don't run this in production. I've seen somebody, I can't find it. I looked, I couldn't find it. They made a program that runs this command anytime you type in a command incorrectly, or some variation of this where it would delete a random file if if you typed in a command incorrectly. So there's that. Like I said, I've got a whole bunch of random ideas, deleting the kernel and seeing what happens if you move the your home directory to somewhere it's not supposed to be while you're signed in, and I've got a list somewhere. I just can't ever. I don't know. I can't, for some reason, think of any of the things I have on my list, and I don't have it on me. Does anybody have any ideas for random nonsense, random fun nonsense?
Minecraft. Minecraft server.
Minecraft. Yeah, that's somewhere between mad scientist and home lab.
One place you could go look at is, I think it's selfhosted.com.
Oh, that's a good one.
And there are lots of things that you could host that are called out there. Including some people have their, not just their Minecraft, but they have some other kind of multiple online game, not necessarily a massive one, but I've seen people like, let's see, a Scorched Earth, which I've seen one that there were a couple of the Linux things. Let's see, is FreeCiv? There might be a FreeCiv one that somebody's actually running. So there are lots of places to do that. But self-hosted's got a lot of good things in there if you're looking for ideas.
Thank you. I was really hoping for a lot more audience participation because I'm out. Does anybody have any other ideas?
You'll find your 15 minutes, but you'll find your list 15 minutes after.
No, so the problem is I've got it. It's just it's on a different computer at home in a text file.
You could, instead of using Ansible Tower, you could do AWS, not AWS, AWX, which is the upstream. Instead of using Red Hat Satellite, you can use the Foreman and Patello. I don't think Patello's still there. To create configurations and do automation. If you're really looking for punishment, you can set up a Jenkins server. So those are some other things. Lots of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas. I was kind of hoping.
Anybody else?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, like I said, I was kind of hoping to first of all just kind of give a bunch of ideas and for more audience participation. Yeah, that seems like something that Aaron would do.
We gotta remember, Aaron's running Minecraft, a Minecraft game on his electronic, his life, I think.
Jesus.
He's running something.
Is he running Doom on his light bulb?
It's possible.
Not yet. There's actually a Hackaday project that's actually done that. I mean, the goal is to run Doom on everything. So.
do you have any specific places that you, specific channels on YouTube that you watch?
You know, I don't actually. I don't subscribe to a lot of tech YouTubers.
You should try Network Chuck.
Network Chuck.
Network Chuck is
is is definitely good.
Network
Yeah.
Chuck and Cyber Mentor are both good.
Self-hosted, no, Cyber Mentor.
Cyber Mentor.
Jeff Geerling, if you like pies and torturing red pies. There's another one. Serve the Home. Serve the Home is another one. Raspberry Pi. Okay,
Well, I think that's it.
all right, guys.
All right, I'm back. You guys hear me? Good. All right. So, thank you, John. You gave us a lot of ideas. Please put as many as you want on Discord. We'll build ourselves a nice big list. Next month, I think it's going to be Dan Linder to a topic to be determined, but probably kind of like red hat-ish and tower-ish, unless he's got something else going. I don't have anything from May through December, so if you are interested, I know Aaron said he's got a couple he's percolating on. I was thinking about doing on Proxmox. So I'm thinking about doing that over the summer. Because I've had some fun with that, and I can ask Aaron questions when mine doesn't work.
I'll forward you to Chad. He's the Proxmox expert of
I
ours.
can't hear him. So, all right, anybody that, oh, can we save? How can we save chat? Is it possible to?
Part of the recording
Okay,
should be.
okay, so, oh, oh, I like that one. Proxmox versus XCP-NG. We can't call those bake-offs, right? They banned that. People used to have bake-offs versus on different software. Is anybody doing any monitoring outside of Nagios or Zabbix? Is anybody else working on something like that? No, OpenNMS or nothing like that? Okay, those might be interested too. Okay, so please send, if you're interested, I'm gonna be spamming a little bit on the meeting server or the meeting planning, and we'll see what we can figure out. Anyway, thanks again to John. Everybody have a good month and enjoy the weather for a couple days here. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Bye.